Ladies and gentlemen, hope you all are enjoying the content shared by our experts. Don't forget to share your feedback at the end of the event. Now let's move to another set of parallel tracks. In track 1, there's a panel discussion on reimagining tech for education in the post-COVID world, moderated by T. Radhakrishna. In track 2, there's a panel discussion on securing digital frontier of India in new normal, moderated by Mohammad Ujale, Senior Special Correspondent, ETGovernment. Platform is all yours, Ujale and Radhakrishna.
Hello and welcome to ETGovernment National Governance Virtual Summit. In this special panel discussion focused on securing digital frontier of India in new normal, we will try to explore how the security landscape has changed over the last 1 year, especially during the pandemic, and how public sector organization and public sector leaders are using technology to mitigate this new challenge. To lead the discussion, today I'm joined by Mr. Krishna Prakash, Commissioner of Police, Pimpri Chindwar Police, Government of Maharashtra, Mr. Harmeet Singh, Additional Director General of Police from Government of Assam, Mr. Asim Arun, Additional Director General of Police, Dial 112, Government of Uttar Pradesh, Dr. Bal Singh Rajput, Superintendent of Police, Cyber Security, Maharashtra Police, Ms. Kavita Roy Das, Deputy Director General and SIU, National Informatics Center, Odisha. Let me begin with Mr. Asim Arun. Mr. Arun, what we have observed that there has, over the last 1 year, during the pandemic, there has been a huge digital transformation and a lot of digital-driven projects being taken by public sector organization in order to provide services online. So at the same time, also the attack surface for cyber security has increased like anything. So I would like to understand from you what kind of cyber security challenges you have observed during pandemic.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jale. The COVID challenge obviously is a very big challenge for the world, but we are able to live up to this challenge because this virus, fortunately, does not affect our IT systems. So as head of 112 UP's emergency services, I feel very comfortable that all my IT infrastructure is in place. But the challenge was that we run a massive call center here, in which in each shift there are more than 300 people who work here. So a time came when we had to shut down our building for 5 days in a row. But we had anticipated this, and we had about 60% of our workforce working from home. So we could live up to this challenge because the building was shut, except a very few people working in the server rooms. Everyone was working from home. Now, I'm telling you this because this is a new challenge which we had not really planned the operation for. Now, in this, we have extended terminals to residences of our employees, and we have used multiple layers of security, ensuring that possibly there'll be no cyber breach. But while we do this, we understand that the very fact that we have extended our network to a remote location, which could be accessible to unauthorized people also, raises the challenge many times. Apart from that, our own network was vulnerable because many of our critical resources were at times in the hospital or not available for other reasons. So our NOC and SOC operations could have got affected, but we are able to sustain that. So I can only say at this stage that IT is a great blessing at this time. Cybersecurity is a bigger challenge. We have tried to live up to it. We have managed well, but whether we have done everything and whether we are 100% secure, I'm sure you'll agree, I cannot say that with confidence.
Absolutely.
But from this discussion, I hope to benefit I hope to make my checklist of what better we can do.
Right, absolutely. I'll come back to you again, Mr. Arun. Now, I'll go to Dr. Bal Singh Rajput. Dr. Bal Singh Rajput, as Mr. Asim said that during the pandemic, technology adoption has increased and it's not new. We have been using it, but the network has gone to a far-flung areas, completely to the edge. So you are now having a different kind of security scenario where you need to bolster your security infrastructure. So I would like to understand from you, based on your observation during pandemic, what kind of cyber security challenge you have witnessed, and because of that, you feel that the public sector organization needs to them upself.
Namaskar. I would like to cite the challenges on different fronts. First of all, police job is to register, investigate, detect the cyber crimes and the other crimes. One front.
Right.
Second front is law and order and maintaining the public order. Second front. And third, giving the technological support and securing the cyber assets. On these three fronts, what kind of challenges and how transformation has happened, that I will explain. First, during the pandemic, what we found is that there was a surge or there was a rise in cybercrime cases first, because most of the people had started digital transactions through different kind of wallets, different kind of payment methods, even food to FIR registration in case of cyber crimes through National Cybercrime Reporting Portal has transformed or taken on a digital platform. So there was a rise. Second rise which we saw was in fake news, rumors, and fake information about the COVID cases. That challenge was bigger because it was misinformation kind of campaign. It was spreading the which can enmity between two communities. If you could remember, in April, May, June, it was a huge surge in different kind of rumors and we can say hate messages regarding some religions. So that also we dealt with a firm hand. We have registered more than 600 cases, and we also designed a different methodology, because it was not only registration of the offenses, but it was important to stop at intermediary level also. So we contacted them, created an ecosystem, and we took down more than 2,000 pieces of such kind of information. On second front, law and order, I will cite one example that due to migrant labors, we witnessed a kind of law and order. You might be remembering a Bandra station congregation incident. On that incident, through the YouTube and other channels, people were misinformed, and people come, the migrant labor come at Bandra station, and the law and order, issue happened. So that was also a challenge, because people were solely dependent on digital systems for
Right.
information, for transaction, for services, and even taking the services of police, like travel permissions. It was online. So all these new attack surface and new services that transport into the digital domain were a kind of challenge. Last one is regarding that the second I dealt with law and order. Third one was getting the cyber intelligence and protecting the assets of the government. If you see during the pandemic, we have witnessed power outage. Also, we have witnessed attack on different kind of service providers like Zomato. We have witnessed attack on the NIC also during this pandemic. So we have increased our attack surface through mobile devices, because number of mobile devices and number of applications which government has floated, the government of and police department has floated, they are a probable source from where they can penetrate. This increases the attack surface due to due to increase in services, transactions, and different kind of applications. There is a rise in attack surface definitely, and to that effect, the challenges of crime, challenges of cybercrime, particularly financial cybercrimes. Second, the attacks on critical information infrastructure, and third, the rumor mongering and misinformation, disinformation campaign. These are the three major challenges that we observe.
Now I will go to Mr. Harmeet Singh. Mr. Singh, what we observed that the pandemic has a kind of necessitated digitalization which has led to a creation of a kind of large attack surface. So this is the beauty of technology, that you are able to deliver government services, but at the same time, you are also exposing a lot of data to the cyber hacker. So in that light, I would like to understand from you what kind of cyber security challenges you are observing, and if you could share based on your experience, especially during the pandemic.
What's happened is that with the pandemic, naturally, every country went into a lockdown. And it's not just that new vectors have come up, attack vectors have been there, but as you yourself said, the surface has grown. So
Right.
with the lockdowns came a lot of digitization. With a lot of digitization came the fact that more and more people started accessing services on the internet. Now, the minute you start accessing services on the internet, naturally your population on the net has grown. Now, in this, let's take baby steps. So let's talk about the babies first.
Mhm.
So even schools went on to online classes.
Right.
In the beginning, all schools, in fact, we got a lot of queries from schools because people would come into their classes and do malicious things, which were, including introducing pornographic content in classes of small children. So
Mhm.
this was a very basic level attack because someone had got the access to the school Zoom meeting or the school WebEx or whatever was happening. So anyway, we helped them sort that out. But the main problem that has come up is not so much in our state with services that government is providing, but with what has happened with normal people who were not so used to using the web for financial transactions.
Right.
So financial transactions have really been hit, and you'll be surprised that very people who are educated and very smart in other fields have fallen prey to small issues, including doctors, engineers, lawyers. The amounts have raised been small through phone calls, SMSs, emails, fake websites, fraudulent offers during COVID, phishing, malware attacks. So amounts have been 20,000, 15,000, but that hits a normal person. So we
Absolutely.
have seen this entire thing going on. The other challenge that we've faced and we've had to help people with is that big companies have asked their people to connect on VPN.
Right.
So the minute you connect on VPN, there is a vulnerability open. Now, unless and until those vulnerabilities are plugged, it is going to be problematic for both the company because their data is accessed, and for the normal person because his computer is open.
Right.
So, this has been happening. The other thing, which of course, the Chinese so-called attack on Mumbai has been up there, and everybody has been talking about it. But the real issue here is that with the number, I like the word you use, the surface. With the
Right.
surface growing, the disruptions have got magnified. And
Yes.
as the disruptions have got magnified, people are talking about it. So the silver lining in this cloud I see is that as people are talking about it,
Mhm.
hopefully the education towards cybersecurity at a personal level will increase, and we would be able to tackle this much easier.
Right. So now I'll go to Mr. Krishan Prakash. Mr. Prakash, as Mr. Arun and Dr. Bal Singh Rajput mentioned, during pandemic, there was a new kind of challenge, which was because people were accessing information from digital. They have, linear source of information getting. And other than also, since a lot of digitization happened, most of the services were being delivered through online mode only, be it payment and other thing. Also, the cases for cybersecurity had increased significantly. I would like to understand, based on your experience, how did you mitigated this challenge, and what have been your experience during pandemic from a cybersecurity perspective, sir?
These are actually tough times due to pandemic for everyone's. It is a situation no one has predicted before,
Right.
and hence no one was prepared for it. It was unforeseen circumstances. Every sector, public or private, it may be. Both had to face the challenges. As there was no prior plan to tackle the situation like this. So this is very important that we should foresee such situations in future, and we should plan in advance. The companies had to set up infrastructure compatible and secure for their employees to work from home. They were not prepared for that also, actually. Citizens had to use digital payment options to avoid physical contact, and were using e-commerce sites for shopping to avoid going out from their homes, as they were actually quarantined in their four walls. For entertainment, OTT platforms are being used widely, as 29 million new paid users were added, approximately 31% rise, So internet uses was increased by almost twice as the people were spending more time over the cyberspace. As the people and the organizations are being exposed more to the cyberspace, they became the target of cyber criminals, creatives, and continuously changing modus operandi.
Right.
So the first challenge was the privacy. So that as people spend more time over cyberspace, there is people are using VPN, APPS services, which leads to compromised privacy and stealing of their information. People are still not enough aware about their privacy and how their data can be stolen and misused. Hence, it is a challenge for individual privacy security, and that is very, very important. So double security is very, very important for this. Cyber attacks were taking place, WHO has reported five-fold increase in cyber attack, from pharma companies itself who are making COVID-19 vaccines, to the universities who are researching on the same have been targeted by attackers. Commercial organizations which are setting up the work from home environment are still new and not equipped, trained enough to tackle the challenges of cyber attacks on these setups. Cyber security was not a priority for the most of the commercial establishments so far as we know. So this was cyber security is becoming a priority now for some. It is the lesson learned hard way, as they had forced financial losses due to such attacks. Phishing has taken new shape nowadays, so people are sending even kids, etc., who are studying, they send that you are seeing some pawns, or you are going through adult sites, and kindly send the money in Bitcoin and all, and sometimes the students fall in trap of that. Not most of the students, but many of them. Even in my members, some of my members of family has also got such in their mails. They have been said that I have come to know about your all passwords, everything, your economical, your cards, etc., etc. So, but of course, as we are well aware, we can make them understand. But those who are not well aware, they cannot make them understand.
Absolutely.
So phishing campaigns were reported and investigations are going on the same. We could detect such cases in our area. Our cyber team is quite strong, though we are not very well equipped, but our PI Tungar and API Panmal are doing very good in that, and that's why in our area in PCMC we could be able to nab even some students where, because the classes were online, so some students use that place, the cyberspace over there in their classes, and they started putting some remarks, etc., which used to threaten some other. So we could detect them successfully. Due to lockdown, IT infrastructure developed and created by the most of the companies was initially not accessible from outside for security reasons. But as the pandemic increased and they have to provide work from home facility to their employees, some fundamental changes and reconfiguration, restructuring of protocols needed to be done. For this purpose, remote desktop protocol were widely used to configure the machines of employees connect to the data. The increased usage of RDP made them the targets of cyber criminals, as they had exploits for the RDP. Some were targeted easily because of not having updated and upgraded system, which led to incidences of data theft and breach of security. I'm giving you a very recent example of our smart city. Smart city and safe city project is going on in our area, in PCMC area or PCPC area. So we have a control room over there. We have well-equipped control room. Tech Mahindra, Crystal, and RCOs, these are the three companies which are working for this, and the IPs which are from China and Russian based IPs, they attack through LDESK and Trojan attack. They did Trojan attack, and files in the server were encrypted, and that was a very difficult thing to retrieve because it all was encrypted. They send the ransom messages and they have asked, you send about 5 files, we will prove you that we can retrieve it, the encrypted things, and then we will tell you how much to pay. Thankfully, when they attacked only Windows-based servers, not the Linux-based servers. That's a good thing. Second thing, that firewall was there, but antivirus was not there in the whole thing. The third thing, that in the very beginning, when suspicious activities were detected, they have not reported to the police. They have reported when the whole thing were encrypted. So that is the mistake they have committed, actually. Yes. So we could find that these things are happening, the challenges are there, but thankfully these were not the very important files or very important data, and that's why there is no need to be in ransomware. They are not no need to give ransom. Actually, government organizations should not give also. It is the mistake of these 3 companies that they have not fully equipped, though they are the biggest one. But
now I'll go to Ms. Das. Ms. Das, what our speaker are saying that during pandemic they face a lot of challenge, and some of them were able to mitigate with existing technology they had. As a national informatics center whose job primarily is to provide IT infrastructure and enable government department deliver public service delivery digitally on the go, would you like to share, based on your experience, what kind of tools and technologies were mainly in the demand from government organization from cybersecurity perspective?
The global pandemic has caught many businesses off guard. Users, data, devices, critical business applications and networks have left the office and become more distributed. So this shift in the way we work and do business has resulted in companies like losing visibility into what is happening in their corporate and their employees' personal networks, devices, and applications. This shift has also seen a number of cyber criminals and sophisticated hacking groups rapidly adjusting their techniques and to take advantage of the situation. So while work from home is at the peak during pandemic, so ensuring perimeter security is a challenge. When working on premise, the security of the network and device can be ensured easily using the IDs, IPs, firewall, and antivirus. But devices being used in work from home without adequate supervision become a vulnerable system, and giving permission to these computers to access servers further makes the situation complex. So during pandemic, the widely first-hand tool used for creating virtual on-premise workforce is VPN, that is virtual private network. And this made the business doable up to some level. Instead of depending on commercial web conferencing platforms like Zoom, Google Meet, and Team, that is Microsoft Team, we have deployed our own premise conferencing solutions, NIC Meet, to avoid attack surface related to those hugely used commercial platforms. And in addition to this NIC Meet, the government of India has also launched Bharat VC for the same purpose. So keeping eye on the border tension along with pandemic, we made our IT strategy as per which frequency of taking data backup has been increased to 1.5 times than normal days. So cybersecurity team was focusing on the 0 days vulnerability notification more than the normal days. So adoption of technology platforms, DevOps and GitLab deployed on premise helped to improve the cohesion between development, testing, deployment, team working remotely. So Office automation system e-Office developed by NIC was protected with digital signatures along with multi-factor authentication as well to avoid unauthorized access. So multi-factor authentication is also proven as one of the armored against cyber attacks, and SMS-based OTP was basically becoming a hassle due to delay in delivery and confusion over multiple versions of the registered OTP. So delay in OTP delivery was creating artificial problems similar to a real DOS attack. So we have developed and deployed the TOTP mobile app named Covers to protect our email access to two-factor authentication without depending on SMS-based communication. In other cases, we have also used our already deployed government instant messenger. This is GIM, and now it is named as Sundays for the purpose of sending OTP in addition to regular SMS.
Right.
Yeah.
I'll come back to Ms. Das again. Now I'll go to Mr. Asim Arun. Mr. Asim, what Ms. Das is saying that during the pandemic, one of the biggest challenge was basically, having visibility across your IT infrastructure. And earlier you also mentioned that, your networking and people are connecting from far-flung areas. Your employee has gone back to their own places, and you have to give VPN and other services to connect to your server. And that means your edge has become quite important. In such a situation, how do you ensure that the kind of robust security that you had earlier, especially a kind of enterprise grade security, you are able to maintain at least some level of that robustness in your security architecture?
We followed several approaches in this, and the first approach was the human approach. We introduced special training courses for all our employees, including and particularly the work from home employees. And this was, of course, online training over video conferences to make them aware of what they should do for data security, particularly because we had deployed good devices with good bandwidth. So the propensity to misuse internet could be strong. So we introduced this, and it worked substantially. Second approach was to prepare ourselves in terms of the technology. Fundamentally, this means that we have a lot of antivirus software, firewall solutions, number of hardware controls, but we did a great audit at this stage, because over time you find that there are some loopholes. Somebody has taken permission to use a USB, somebody has taken permission for something else. So we ensured that all our permissions were at the bare minimum level, and any permissions, whether they were with higher officers or executives, they were all withdrawn. And finally, we did a scan and sanitize approach of all our devices, again, and all our ports. Fortunately, as a matter of fact, we did not really find anything substantial. But in certain cases, we had very interesting exposures. One of our employees working from home, initially, we thought when we were in a crisis mode, we said, anyone who has a device at home, let us know. We'll send a person and we'll install our software, and it will be up and running. Because at that stage, we were short of devices. But then we very quickly rolled back that approach, because at one of the points when we went, we found a lot of malware and sophisticated spyware on the computer. Why? Because the lady said that my brother was doing a course in ethical hacking, and that is why these tools are there, which must be a valid reason. But we realized that we were being too fast and possibly foolhardy by installing our system on private devices. So we stopped that, and then we waited, got our own new devices, and then we installed it. So these are the four things which we did to ensure security of our enterprise.
Right, absolutely. I'll go to Dr. Bal Singh Rajput now. Dr. Bal Singh, what Mr. Asim Arun is saying that, the capacity building, your police officer or your own employee who has to actually take care of this security part, they must be trained and they must be actually given some level of training as to how, if a new kind of challenge comes, how they should be focusing on it. What we have observed generally, lack of awareness and skill resources in the cybersecurity space is a huge challenge. I mean, we all know that. In your view, how this could be addressed? And is there anything that in Maharashtra police that you have done and which could have actually given some level of good result, which possibly other police organization across the country could imbibe? If you could share.
Skill is very important aspect in cyber, because if you see, there are three pillars. One is technology, second is processes, and third one is human resource. If you see, technology is robust. We can bring any kind of technology, place it there, but the problem will not be solved, because internal processes of the company or internal processes of the government also need to be improved or made to be compatible with that technology. But third one is the person behind that machine need to be adequately trained. He should be well skilled and he should know how that is happening. One thing about skill development is the persons who are working on the system. But second, that is most important, is the people who are using that platform. So what we did, we work on two things. We started our capacity building program in 2019. We have trained our police officers, more than 650 police officers, in 21-day cybersecurity course. So we taught them how that any incident of cyber crime or cyber security should be handled. From incident response point of view to investigation to mitigation and building the system to a resilient mode is one aspect. But we also started considering who is the most impactful group that will be targeted by the criminals. That was women and children and senior citizens. If you see the statistics of the cyber crime, the phishing events happens mostly for digital payments to women, children, and senior citizens. So, and particularly phishing attacks or maybe pornographic extortion kind of things, these are happening to these three type of groups. So we started two campaigns in middle of the pandemic. That was Cyber Swachhata campaign. So that we proactively identified more than 5,000 pieces of information which was fake, which was hate mongering, which was a kind of a crime, which was demeaning a modesty of a woman, or maybe instigating kind of pornography or leading to pornographic site. Took down more than 2,000 pieces in Cyber Swachhata Muhim. Second, we did in Cyber Swachhata Muhim was to inform the service providers about such kind of activities that should be taken down. Third, we identified the sources from where it is coming, and we serve the 149 notices to stop such kind of activities to such a sources. This was regarding the information. Second, we did targeted, we started in February 2020 on the birth anniversary of Savitribai Phule, the first teacher and the motivator for women in this field, a cyber safe woman campaign. And we reached the schools and colleges because they were running online. We took a online meeting of more than 500 schools and colleges and informed, sensitized them that how attacks are being taken, how the Zooms or other conferencing platforms are being misused to lure the children, to send the pornographic material, to do the phishing attacks using your laptop, desktop. That also we sensitized. So we we gave more focus on two things: capacity building of police officers and people who are using systems. And second, more focus we gave on awareness and sensitization of the demand side group.
Now I'll go to Mr. Harmeet Singh again. Mr. Singh, earlier you were mentioning about the pandemic has created a lot of challenge from security point of view, and especially for people who are not doing financial transaction online and they had to do it. And there were a lot of cases actually reported. And you said that what we need to create a kind of capacity building, create an awareness, especially among people, among users for cybersecurity. So I would like to understand from you what we are also observing, that there is lack of awareness and skills resource in the cybersecurity space, and that seems to be a huge challenge. Not only with the general public, but also with the government department, within the police force also. So how this could be addressed, and is there anything in Assam that you have done which possibly other police forces could imbibe?
Okay, so you've said it yourself, lack of awareness, and the lack of awareness is not only in the private space, it is there in the government space also. So we've been running a massive awareness campaign on social media. And this is interactive. It is not as if we are just putting out memes or we are putting out advisories and we are leaving it at that. Our social media helplines and channels are open for people to come back to us with their problems, which we are solving. And this has been very, very successful. So apart from the MHA website where people go on and register cybercrime complaints, our social media platforms we've been using for this. Now, as we have already spoken, it is normal, simple people who have come on to the internet or the web for the first time for financial transactions during the COVID pandemic, who have faced the maximum problems.
Right.
And interestingly, as the surface grows, the criminals' ideas also grow. So from the earlier ATM pin kind of a phishing, now it has gone to much larger games. In fact, we had a case where somebody posing as an army officer rang up a supplier. All happened within Assam, and said that we want to buy masks and sanitizers from you. And even that was used for a fraudulent transaction. Of course, we were able to catch it, and the part of the money has been returned.
Right.
So number one was regarding safe practices. Number two, part of what you're going to ask me later, I'm going to answer now. The government IT department cybersecurity policy, for which we've given a lot of inputs, is ready and is about to be released. Number three is, when you come to your own departments or when you come to your own systems, number one, you have to sensitize your people on what to do and how to use it. So the SOPs to deal with data and user credentials, and which is the basics which people don't use. But more than that, you have to go in for audits. Now, in the government of India, there is a system where sensitive departments are audited regularly. That kind of system has to come into the state governments, and we are introducing it here. Also, what we need to do is get people to use basic softwares, basic antivirus softwares, anti-malware softwares, and audit their own computers. So that kind of awareness we are trying to create. It is working, and I'm hopeful it will work a lot more in the future. We are also working on a handbook on do's and don'ts in cyberspace, which would not only target government departments, but also private organizations and educational institutions. And we would share that with you as soon as it's ready. In fact, we are planning, actually it's gone beyond planning stage. We're collaborating with Cyberpeace Foundation. Cyberpeace Foundation, and we do a lot of collaboration with them. In fact, our history with young Vineet Kumar goes to a period much before Cyberpeace Foundation even came up. So we are going to be using that and this handbook. So we'll share that with you, and you can be in a PDF form. So you'll be able to share it with your readers also.
Right. I'll go to now Mr. Krishna Prakash. Mr. Prakash, earlier you mentioned about how the police officer were trained and how you detected some of the cases also. And what Dr. Bal Singh Rajput was saying, that the capacity building is really important, and we need to give training and also involve a stakeholder from time to time. So since we are still in the phase of COVID-19, so I would like to understand from you, what should be the two technology-driven priorities for the government organization? Any government organization which is planning to adopt some type of technology solution to their existing job, what are the two things they must ensure while adopting any technology down the line? If you could share your view, sir.
As Bal Singh Rajput has rightly mentioned, that cleaning up the space is more important, and making the people aware who are the consumers actually, who are actually the victims and all. As if, for example, for fake news, if the government has decided that social messaging platforms to be restricted, some restrictions to be there for forwarded messages or notifications of messages being forwarded multiple times. So users will know about the forwards and they can understand about the fake news, and the menace of fake news can be curbed. Similarly, the capacity building is the second thing, which is very, very important, because we all know that there are a lot of opportunities and good placements available in the cyber security field, but as it requires keen interest and a refined skill set, not a large number of professionals are interested in it. Currently, a lot of private stakeholders in the field of promoting job opportunities, and some are also offering internship for the interested ones to equip them with the skills, as it is rapidly growing market for both offensive and defensive cybersecurity. So it is very important that partnership between stakeholders of cybersecurity, private companies working in the field, and academic institutions together can create a curriculum and course that will provide the required skill set to be cybersecurity professionals. And if such cybersecurity professionals, the capacity will be with us everywhere, then this can be countered well. We actually, so far as we are concerned, we are addressing lack of awareness about cybersecurity from our social media handles through posters, posts, videos to reach out to all. Also, we are publishing a weekly dedicated thing to bring awareness in people about cybercrime as Cyber Sarthi. So we, as Maharashtra Police, working together, and as Mr. Bal Singh Rajput is in charge of the cyber anti-cybercrime cell, and we in the field are also following the same path. In addition, we are planning for police-public partnership programs that will strengthen the efforts and awareness, which will increase its reach through cyber volunteers. So we should create cyber volunteers who can volunteer their help as and when required. That is important, and I think government should go by this approach.
Now I'll go to Ms. Das. Ms. Das, would you like to share your views of, what should be the two important technology priorities for government organization, especially from cybersecurity point of view?
It is also planned that to deploy different types of honeypot systems to track the attack vector at different levels, like web server honeypot, application honeypot, database honeypot, and OS level honeypot. This system will create a simulation of a weakly configured system to attract malicious programs and record their fingerprints. This type of systems will provide first-hand information about new types of attacks and alarm system, and we can take necessary measures for this type of attacks. The government needs collaborations with scientific societies already working in these areas for mass awareness campaigns, bringing all such scientific and technical societies like OWASP and NAL, which are dedicatedly working in this cybersecurity domain, needs to be brought under one umbrella for a bigger role. So investing more in sponsored R&D projects with cybersecurity as the trust area and involving universities in these activities along with industries will be the key. So organizing hackathon till now was more focused on a challenge to hack a system, but now we need to change the format and need to organize hackathons with a challenge to make systems secured from different types of known vulnerabilities. And NIC is organizing with collaboration with Oracle, IBM, etc., different type of hackathons regularly. Literally, we need to move from hackathon now to securethon. Right. In our organization, we are providing scaffolding tools to generate a secured skeletal project, not to miss any important aspect of the security from the starting itself. Implementing web application firewall is also another step taken to fill the gap of skilled resources. And in addition to this, our officers are also involved in various scientific societies working in the direction of cybersecurity like OW, ASP, and NAL. We are providing access to various cybersecurity related online training through Vidya course portal to our technical and scientific officers and also users. The continuous webinars are also being conducted to improve the know-how as well as know why among the people involved. And we are making a policy to keep security awareness tips on every login page of our projects. So
absolutely. I think we have completely exhausted our time, and I really thanks Mr. Asim Arun, Dr. Bal Singh Rajput, Ms. Kavita Roy Das, Mr. Harmesh Singh, Mr. Krishna Prakash for sharing your views and telling us the kind of trend that you witnessed during the pandemic and how actually government organization, especially yours organization, mitigated this challenge of COVID-19, and why it is really important to create a kind of capacity building within police forces. Within police forces, the people should be cyber aware, and they should have some level of some decent level of understanding of using modern technology to mitigate this challenge. Also, some of the activity that you all are doing in your respective department, which has given good result, you all share. So on behalf of ETGovernment and ETGovernment National Governance Virtual Summit, I really thank all of you once again. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you everyone for sharing your expert advice with our audience. Ladies and gentlemen, keep sharing your learnings on social media using the hashtag ETNGVS.